Mayan Buta, hello everyone. Sano all, thank you for joining and coming to listen to what I have to say. Today I'm talking about infrastructure. It's not talked about enough in today's time. Back in the day, it was talked about a lot. When I was growing up, at the time George Bush was president, and infrastructure was very important. 9/11 happened, terrible things happened. Years later, and it was talking about development and building big homes. I don't want to talk politics. But there are a certain group of people who believe in what they call low income home. I don't believe in low income homes. I believe in infrastructure. We need buildings, we need workers. People can't get jobs all across the countries, not just one country, but it's multiple countries that are suffering. And one of the biggest things is infrastructure. You have a homeless problem, it's infrastructure. You won't see this level of homeless problem in certain countries. One of them being Russia. I will name up and down the street. You have tents, and it looks great. Not in Russia. I'm talking about in other countries. You Philippines, America. It looks so horrible. How do you clean it up? How do you fix that problem? And people will ask me, Iskby, how do you fix it? What do you think about it? And as a person who worked in construction, and I'm proud to always say I employed 19 people. And I would have loved to employ a lot more. And I wasn't even in a hiring position. I wasn't a manager. I was just a regular construction worker. But I would take people applications, have them fill it out, talk to my boss, tell them to hire them, and they did. They hired them, and I got 19 people hired at a high pay rate in America for $15 an hour. These was guys who was making 10, 12, and 8.25 an hour, and I got them to making $15 an hour because great jobs like that are not properly televised. It's not properly told how to get that, how, where to go, where to apply to, and things like that. So that's why today I'm talking about what's the important in the economy is infrastructure. That's always been important, and that's always kept people employed, and that's always kept roofs over people's head, and it always kept homelessness down. They don't need, we have beautiful buildings in the Philippines, beautiful buildings, but we have acres and land and land and land that should have small housing in there for people who are homeless, and give it to them for free. And it's not too much to ask for. But in America, this is definitely would solve a good 40-50% of the crime. About 48% of the crime would go down because of housing. And I'm not talking about what they made, the suburb, none of that. I'm talking about infrastructure, building small homes, one bedrooms. People, can sleep on the floor, whatnot. They don't really need they don't need a huge bathroom, a huge kitchen. They just need a little small bathroom, a small, kitchenette, wherever. They don't even really need a kitchen. You don't even have to put a kitchen in there, no stove, none of that. But you can have a heater in there so they can get hot air or whatnot. Or maybe you really don't have to put air conditioning into those places. When you're building something for the homeless, you don't need air conditioning. The shade that they have, and then they can get fans inside. After working and trying to rebuild their life. But this is what's the problem is, we have a lot of acres of land and nothing's built on it. And that's what the problem is. At the end of the day, if you want to end homelessness, that's the only way to end it, is to hire workers. We need the workers. People are homeless when they could be working construction, helping build houses that will house the homeless. And the material is very cheap, so I don't want to hear, we have too many billionaires in America as it is. The material is cheap enough to build those homes and infrastructure. And people say, well, what about bad weather? Well, it's like anything else. When bad weather hits, you build back stronger, and that's all you can do. And you reinforce it with metal and steel and good. The super bad areas, let's say that, where the weather is super, super bad. In those areas, that's where you're going to have to use some good material, which is not a bad costing. They don't want to do it. And that's what's wrong with a lot of this. People get into this backwards. I don't want to get into a debate or argument about politics, what party and who's this and what they did, or government or anything. I'm just saying that it's very simple to understand that infrastructure is the biggest part of the world. No matter what country you live in, what town, what city, it's the biggest part of the world. Is we need homes, and if those homes are not built, then it's always going to be homelessness at a high level, and much crime, drugs, and all those things that pour in. But people who live in everyday their lives and they're working every day and they're just trying to get their life together, they're not worried about that predominant problem of trying to sleep on the streets. The problem is when you look at those long dirt fields, and it always make me mad when I pass them long dirt. And I'm not talking about rice fields or anything like that. I'm talking about just trees and dirt for miles and miles, and there's no homes there. Cut down those trees, use that wood, and start building houses there. It's a very simple solution for a simple problem. But most countries blow those problems into big problems because they start becoming a huge rate of that. And then they start to infest the city. They have nowhere to sleep. They sleeping on the sidewalk. They begging people for money. First of all, I think it should be illegal to stand on the street and beg anyone for money. I'm just going to be honest. You want to ask for money, I think there should be a place and where you can do that. But I don't think you should be able to harass people at McDonald's, Jollibee, wherever you go. I don't think you should be able to stand there and ask for money, or beg for money. Supermarkets, wherever it's happening at, in all countries. I think in all countries that should be illegal, because and the reason I say that, and I don't mean jail them up for 20 years because they was asking for money, but I do mean because in America it's technically soliciting, but I mean you should. That's when if a person is doing that, they should be bust, and that's what they used to do in America. They used to bust the homeless to a certain area. Well, that's when you need to arrest them and release them in a certain area that can benefit them and help them and release them into a great place. In America, a lot of people might know that went through the orphanage, unfortunately. I can't speak about everything that happens in the orphanage, but I can say that most orphans, as what I learned and heard, when they become 18, they kick them out the system. Which means if you was a child and you was living in an orphanage, which is built for children, once you become 18, they kick you out onto the streets. They don't give you any money. They don't help you get a job. They don't help you do anything. They just kick you out to the streets. And a lot of people go from there, from 18 to a shelter, and they live on the streets for 20 years in America. And you'll ask a person, how long you been on the streets? And they'll say, I've been here for 20 years. 20 years? How? Well, I was an orphan, and when I became 18, they kicked me out. I didn't have proper education. I didn't smell good, so then nobody took me in, wouldn't help me. I started doing drugs on the street, and etc., etc. And so when we have that type of plural incident, we need to understand that this is not just a simple problem anymore. This is a big issue. We have beautiful roads, and we have wonderful infrastructure in the inner cities where we have these nice buildings, these nice paint, these lovely skyscrapers and things like that, but nobody wants to build up the land that is already used. Right? Nobody wants to build up the land that if you pass an empty lot and you see nothing there, if a person say they own it, well then the government need to take that property from them, because at the end of the day, you cannot be satisfied with amenities, people that sleep on the street. Everybody has a right to have a roof over their head, and that's the truth. And if I had billions and billions and trillions of dollars, I had millions of subscribers, I'll be doing the same thing Mr. Beast is doing, which is helping people. I seen a week ago he went and he built up a village and helped people build housing so people can have a roof over their head, and that's very important. And the problem that we face today is nobody finds that important anymore. um, Everyone is just trying to survive at some end, and people complain about drugs, and I'm not going to get into the drug thing because we all know that that could be eradicated too. But homelessness, you can really end it when infrastructure is very important and always been important. And the fact that people nowadays don't understand, the young generation don't understand how important infrastructure is. They go to school and they learn all this bull crap. They go into TikTok and Instagram, and all they learn is from what a celebrity say. They're not learning that the real issues in the world, is it's not the number one issue. Top five issue, but it's not number one issue. And I don't want to get into that right now about the number one issue, but infrastructure is a big part of the world, and it's a big part of America. America was founded with infrastructure. That's the first thing, the first place they built up that they made look magnificent was Pennsylvania, the great state of Pennsylvania. Now look at it; it's not the same. Shout out to a friend of mine from there, Merck, great friend of mine. Um, but it's not great anymore. But that place was the first place of infrastructure. It was the first place of big construction in America. And then Washington D.C. came after that, and New York. I know some people are gonna say, "Well, what about New York? New York has these big, beautiful." But back in the day, they didn't have that. I'm talking about 1776. I'm talking about the first president of Pennsylvania. You know who the first president of Pennsylvania was? It was Benjamin Franklin. A wonderful mind. I always liked Benjamin Franklin in history, and in my opinion, he was a genius. And Pennsylvania was built so lovely. You have Reading, Pennsylvania. You have Philadelphia. So Pittsburgh, which is still lovely. Pittsburgh is still a lovely city, but they have miles and miles and miles and miles of land and no houses there, and they need to fix that. Because before they built that little inner city part, they had acres and acres of not just farming land, but houses that was very close together for in one area and things like that. And it was nice areas, not these apartments and condos. And no, we need little flat houses, one bedrooms. And you don't have to put, like I said, a kitchen in there. You just need to put a bathroom, and really, it don't have to be a one bedroom. You don't even have to build a bedroom. That's what people don't understand. It's just a house. You know, you have your living room and a bathroom. That's it. You tell me that costs too much money to do, and America is giving foreign lands trillions of dollars. They're giving people trillions, not a million, not a billion, but trillions of dollars. And you can't give the American people a living room and a bathroom? Go figure. Yet they say America is for the American people. Well, I'm an American, and I can say that America is not for the American people. That's a 100% lie. We do not get the benefits and such things to help us further ourselves in that country. And they could say, oh, well, we thrive here and there, we thrive this, and we do this. You raise gas, you raise food prices, you take away jobs and dismiss jobs, and then you make it hard to get jobs, and you employ foreigners over Americans, and then it makes it even harder to compete and try to get a job. You give recruiters or jobs, business owners, you give them more money if they hire a foreigner. So then, of course, that's what they're going to do, so they can benefit the money from the governor. At the end of the day, America is built against its own Americans, because they say, well, we was a foreign land. We all was foreigners when we came there. So it's a up and down situation. You even a country or you not. And I can say, America has it very unfitting will. Now it is the land of freedom and things like that, and God bless everyone in America. I have no problem. Um, I think America is a beautiful country, and it has a lot of lovely things that it produces. McDonald's is one of them. Disney is known around the world. McDonald's is known around the world. So they have a lot of wonderful things that's in America. So don't ever mistake me when I say that. I owned a car in America. Um, I had a pretty good job in America. So I will never say that America is a horrible place. It's definitely top five to live in, but just when you touch the homeless situation, you got to talk infrastructure. Nobody wants to talk infrastructure anymore. And when you get hired as a construction worker, if there's any construction workers listening to me right now, that's all we talk about on the job is we like, well, man, they just build these little flats. They build these little houses with just a living room and a bathroom. That can help many Americans, especially a lot of poorer Americans who have jobs that only paying them $8.25. In Vegas, that's the minimum wage. And at $10 an hour, that's not no money. You can barely pay your car insurance with that little paycheck that they gave you, $10 an hour, $12 an hour. You're not really making good money until you up to 15, and even $15 an hour, you still need a second job. I worked two jobs, made $15 an hour at both of my jobs, and still it was still hard. $4,400 a month is nothing. I'll tell you that right now. In America, $4,400 is nothing per month. It could be gone like that, like so fast. Trying to live, pay rent, pay insurance, pay for groceries, pay for gas. It just, that money goes so fast. $4,400 a month is nothing to live off of. It's really, you need at least about $6,500 a month to live in America and be comfortable and have some extra money to save up. And everybody always say, oh, take $200 and save it here, and take 100. You don't have 100 to save. You get $100, you don't have $50 to save out that $100. You need to spend that whole $100. So $4,400 is not enough. So when we sit back and we talk infrastructure, that helps people who are only making $4,400 a month and still paying $2,000 in rent. You can go to one of those flats and pay $400 a month or $300 a month. That would really help people be able to save and get on their feet, so then they can be able to get housing later in life. So see, that's how you build the American people. That's giving back to the American people. As you build those flats and charge, like I said, they don't have any kitchen in there, but they have a bathroom and a living room. You just put your bed right there, in the living room and sleep there, and you can take a little shower in there or whatever, and leave, come out, go, and whatever. No air conditioning in there, but you can get fan and a heater or whatever you need, because you can save money in something like that. And then, like I said, it's only $400 a month. You could save a lot of money making $4,400 a month, and you living in something like that. You could save in no time to help yourself, get a good job where you could do a travel job, making a lot of money, or you can get an education. Now you can go back to school because now you're only paying $400 for your place. Your insurance is only going to be about $4, so you like $8 there. So like you could save a lot with that type of infrastructure, but because they refuse to do it, they refuse to put money into that project and to help people in a very limited way. People are forced to, be criminals and et cetera, et cetera. Well, they're not forced to do it, but they just, go and do it because that's how they feel is the only way that they can really win. Is if they become criminals and whatnot. But that's all I wanted to say, and I want to thank everybody, and I appreciate everyone for listening. But always remember, if you have that question, if you ever wondering, if you ever see a homeless person, and you go, man, how could this person really get help? Infrastructure is the way to solve homelessness.